So you've decided to take the road less traveled, or depending on who you ask, the road straight to hell. Welcome to the life of an atheist in a deeply religious family, where every family gathering feels like a spiritual intervention, and your mere existence is a debate topic. Let's start with the big one, prayers. Whether it's before meals, at bedtime, or during that very important festival, you're always in the same awkward position. Do you fold your hands and fake it? Do you stand there with your eyes open, feeling like a total fraud? Or, worst of all, do you try to explain why you're not participating and spark the dreaded, but why conversation? But why? That's the question you hear all the time. Why don't you believe in God? As if you just woke up one morning and said, you know what? Faith isn't for me. Pass the coffee. And when you try to explain, the response is always some variation of, oh, it's just a phase, or you'll come around eventually. Right? Because nothing screams spiritual awakening like being guilt-tripped into it. And then there's the guilt. Oh, the guilt. Religious families are guilt machines, finely tuned and expertly operated. Every missed prayer, every skipped service, every rolled eye at a sermon is met with the same disappointed sigh. We're not angry, we're just worried about your soul. Thanks, Mom. That totally makes me feel better. But let's talk about family gatherings. Oh, family gatherings, where every uncle, aunt, and third cousin suddenly becomes a theologian. How can you not believe? Look at the trees. Look at the stars. Yes, because the existence of trees is definitely proof of divine intervention and not, biology. And just when you think the conversation is over, someone pulls out the big guns. Have you tried praying about your lack of faith? No, Uncle Raj, I haven't. But thanks for the groundbreaking suggestion. And don't even get me started on festivals. Christmas, Easter, Diwali, Eid, whatever your family celebrates, it's all the same. You're expected to join in, smile politely, and pretend you're just as invested as everyone else. And when you don't? Cue the whispers. Did you see how they didn't sing the hymns? So disrespectful. Oh, I'm sorry, Aunt Susan. Was my refusal to sing a song I don't believe in ruining your holiday spirit? But the real challenge? Living under the constant threat of conversion attempts. Every conversation somehow circles back to religion. What if you're wrong? Don't you want to believe in something greater? This one story in the Holy Book really helped me. And you're sitting there, trying not to roll your eyes because you know that saying anything will just make it worse. And yet, despite all the awkwardness, the guilt trips, and the endless debates, there's something strangely beautiful about it. Because at the end of the day, their persistence comes from a place of love. Misguided love, sure, but love nonetheless. They want you to believe because they care about you, because their faith is so central to who they are that they can't imagine a world without it. And maybe that's the hardest part. Finding a way to coexist. Balancing their beliefs with your lack of them. Respecting their faith while staying true to your own convictions. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Because family isn't about agreeing on everything. It's about finding common ground, even when it feels impossible. So yeah, it sucks sometimes. The prayers, the guilt, the endless lectures, it's exhausting. But it's also a reminder that faith, or the lack of it, isn't what defines us. It's how we treat each other, how we listen, how we learn. And if nothing else, being the family atheist means you've got one thing in abundance: patience. Which, let's be honest, is practically a superpower at this point. Let's talk about mornings. You're just trying to get through breakfast and there it is. The prayer corner. A neatly arranged shrine or maybe a giant cross on the wall quietly judging you as you pour your cereal. Your family? They're lighting incense, reciting verses, and looking at you like, are you just going to eat without thanking someone? Yes, Mom, I'm thanking Kellogg's. They're the real MVP. And then there's family TV time. You think you're about to watch a nice movie or a sitcom, but nope, your parents want to watch that channel. You know the one. The preacher in a suit, yelling about salvation, or the spiritual documentary about how atheism leads to moral decay. Meanwhile, you're sitting there like, do we have to make this personal? And if you so much as glance at your phone, someone pipes up with, see, this is why you don't believe. You're always distracted. Sure, Dad, my lack of faith is definitely because of Instagram and not, a fundamental disagreement with your worldview. Don't even get me started on meals with extended family. The conversation always starts innocently enough. Small talk, jokes, the usual. But then someone says, "So, have you found your way back to God yet?" "No, Aunt Linda, I didn't misplace him like car keys." And before you can deflect, they're quoting scripture at you like it's a debate tournament, and you're the final round. Then there's the dreaded moral superiority hour. You know, when someone brings up a tragedy or a crime, and the conclusion is always, "See, that's what happens when people don't believe in God." And you're sitting there, biting your tongue, trying not to say, "Pretty sure people with faith also do bad things, but okay." Because you know the second you do, you've just signed up for a 3-hour argument. And of course, we can't forget the existential bribes. "If you believe, you'll be happier." Or, "Don't you want to go to heaven and be with us forever?" First of all, the idea of being with anyone forever is kind of terrifying. Second, no, Grandma. I'm not rejecting eternal paradise out of spite. I just don't think it works like that. But here's the kicker. It's not just what they say, it's what they assume. Like when something good happens in your life and they're like, "See, God is blessing you." And when something bad happens, well, maybe this is a sign to reconnect with Him, right? So, all my successes are divine gifts, and all my failures are because I'm a heathen. Got it. And yet, somehow, the hardest moments aren't the arguments or the assumptions. They're the quiet ones. Like when your mom lights a candle and whispers a prayer for you, thinking you don't notice. Or when your dad sneaks a holy charm into your backpack before a big test because he's worried about you. They might not say it out loud, but their actions scream, "We just want you to be okay." And as much as you don't believe, you can't help but feel a little grateful. Because even if you don't share their faith, you share their love. But then, of course, someone ruins the moment. "So, when are you coming to church with us again?" Never mind. Back to square one. So, yeah, being an atheist in a religious family is complicated. It's exhausting, frustrating, and sometimes downright absurd. But it's also a crash course in patience, empathy, and finding common ground. Because at the end of the day, it's not about proving who's right. It's about understanding that love, messy, awkward, unconditional love, is bigger than any belief system. And hey, if you can survive this, you can survive anything, even another family dinner.